Okay, so right after the Mishnah on
it's like grade school, we're going to mimic it.
No. So we are in Daf Nun Aleph Amid base 51b, and the Mishnah had said that there were two curtains that he would walk through between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim for together with his bringing in the incense and the shovel full of coal, and that's the way he would go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim to bring the incense, the Ketores offering. However, Rabbi Yossi says there was only one curtain there, and the Gemara explained that there were two curtains according to the Chachamim, even though that the in the Mishnah, the Beis Hamikdash, the first Beis Hamikdash was a wall, but because of the height of the second Beis Hamikdash, 40 amas high, the 1 amma thick wall was not sufficient. The 1 amma was not sufficient for a wall that height, and so they put up curtains instead. Tana Rabbah. So the Rabbanan taught. Rabbi Yehuda says that the way the Kohen Gadol walked in, so he would walk in from east to west, and straight ahead was the Mizbeach at the midpoint of the room, and to the left on the southern wall was the menorah. And on the right, on the northern wall, was the shulchan, the lechem hapanim. And as we learned in Shkalim and earlier, there were 10 additional tables and 10 additional menorahs that were built by Shlomo HaMelech that were on the alongside or near the menorah on the south and the shulchan on the north. So there were essentially 11 tables and 11 menorahs. And from there, he'd be facing the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the curtain. So Rabbi Yehuda says the way he walked in was he would walk in towards the southern side of the room between the Mizbeach and the menorah. And that's the way he would go to the curtain. The Rabbi Meir, ben Shulchan HaMizbeach. Now he walked to the north of the Mizbeach, between the Mizbeach and the Shulchan, between the altar and the table. However, Yeshayimrim, and those that say Ben Shulchan LaKaisel, he walked all the way along the northern side, along the northern wall between the table and the north and the wall. So what's this based on? Man Yeshayimrim. Whose opinion is this Yeshayimrim? Rabbi Yossi. This opinion of Rabbi Yossi. The Amar who says Pischa B'Tzafa and Koyin, that the opening to the Kodesh HaKadoshim was on the north. Now, according to Rabbi Yossi, there's only one door. There's only one opening and one curtain, so one opening in the curtain, which means that the only opening was on the north. So that he would walk to the north, which is the direction for the opening of the Beis Hamikdash, fine, of the Kodesh HaKadosh. So the Gemara is going to explain now what the machlokes is about. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, the opening was in the south. Now, when Rabbi Yehuda says the opening is in the south, the meaning of that is that not that the opening is actually in the south, but also the opening was in the north, but the outer curtain, its opening was in the south. All right, so we have he's facing west. On his north side is the shulchan, and on the north side the curtain would open to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. However, in front of that, according to Yehuda, there was another curtain blocking that opening, all the way to the south, and that had a southern opening. So what the Gemara means that the opening was on the south means that's the way he needed to enter in order to walk up to between the two curtains to the north, then make a left turn and walk along the inner curtain, and then he could get to the center of the room. That's the way the Gemara is going to explain what he did, and that's the idea that according to Yehuda, the opening was on the south. Rabbi Meir commands here. What about Rabbi Meir, who says that he would walk through the center of the room, but to the north of the center, meaning between the Mizbech and the Shulchan? Rabbi Yehuda sphere, if he holds like Rabbi Yehuda nail, like Rabbi Yehuda, he should go to the south, like Rabbi Yehuda, between the table and the menorah. Rabbi Yossi sphere, and if he follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, nail Rabbi Yossi, let him go like Rabbi Yossi all the way to the north between the wall and the shulchan. The Gemara says, "Loilam Rabbi Yossi sphere." You are right. He follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that the opening was on the north and there was only one curtain, and so the opening was directly in the north, and that's the way he needed to go to get in. And perhaps the reason he says that you'd go between the mizbeach and the tables is because the tables were running north-south. Meaning, I mentioned to you before that besides for the one table that had the lechem apanim on it, there were additional tables built by, and they were near sort of like an adornment around the table that had the showbread, the lechem apanim. And the Gemara had earlier had a question in Shkalim, if you remember, whether it was the tables were running along the northern wall, or were they running north-south, and therefore protruding into the center, all the way to the center of the room. And if they were, and they were running north-south to the center of the room, so he couldn't walk along the northern wall because actually there were tables there blocking. So he couldn't get there. So therefore, he would have to walk between the tables and the mizbeach in order to get through. The table is blocking him, so he couldn't get through there. And that's the reason that Rabbi Yehuda said that Rabbi Meir says that he could not walk along the northern wall. Another reason, perhaps you could say, no, the tables were parallel to the wall, not perpendicular to the northern wall. And they were running along the wall, and there was space to walk there. There's 2 almas to walk there. However, because it's not appropriate that if the Shekhinah is based in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's not appropriate to walk along the northern wall where you're essentially looking straight through into the opening of the curtain on the northern side, because there's only one curtain according to Rabbi Yossi, not 2. So if you're walking along the northern wall, as you walk, you would have a straight view into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And so to avoid that, Rabbi Meir says, no, you walk in through the center of the room and you turn towards the right, but this way he's not walking directly into the opening. And so now in Nun Beis Aleph at the top, it's not appropriate to walk straight in, and this way he's looking into the Kodesh HaKadoshim at the opening. Rabbi Yossi says no such problem. That's not an issue. Bnei Yisrael are so precious to Hashem. The Torah did not require a messenger who have direct access to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every individual of Bnei Yisrael, as the pasuk says in Malachim, that every single one can daven for themselves. And Asher Yedin Ish every person knows the struggles of his heart and can spread his hands to pray to Hashem at this house. So every individual, you don't need a shaliach. Everybody has access directly to Hashem, and therefore the messenger is not coming meekishly in with strength and can walk directly across the opening. Rabbi Yehuda, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, why didn't he say that walk along the southern wall? Rabbi Yehuda says the opening is in the south because there's a second curtain in front, like our Mishnah said, and that second curtain in the front opens at the south, and which is to the left, and then he would turn right, go up along the between the two curtains. Then at the top he would go turn left and left again, and walk along the curtain with the curtain along his left side. Now, why not walk directly along the southern wall till he gets there? The Rabbi Meir said he doesn't want to walk along the northern wall because then he's looking straight in. But on the southern side, there is no straight in. He's looking at the opening, but there's a curtain behind that, which he's going to have to get through. So what's the issue? So why doesn't he walk between the menorah and the wall? Mashloi mani. His great white garments that he's wearing to go in are going to get blackened because of the smoke from the menorah would leave some residue on the wall, and he's going to get dirty from it, and so therefore he doesn't walk along that. Amar Rabbi Nosson, Amar Traxin lechribe chachamim ikin lefnim ikuros. So this Amma, the basis for the two curtains we saw yesterday, is based on this Amma, this 1.5 feet, the Amma that was a wall in the first base of Mikdash, and that Amma was too narrow to make a 40 Amma high, 60-foot high wall, and for it to be stable, and so they put a curtain in. Now there was no way for the Chachamim didn't know, okay, is that a part of the Holy of Holies? And that, in other words, is the Kodesh HaKadoshim 20 Amma plus that 1 Amma wall? Or is that part of the Kodesh, not the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and so it's a part of the outside? And the Beis HaMikdash itself was 40 Amma plus the 1 Amma of the wall. In other words, there was between the 40 Amma of the Kodesh and the 20 Amma of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there was a wall of 1 Amma. Is that sanctified like the inner chamber or the outer chamber? That was really the question. And not knowing, so they made a curtain in front and a curtain on the outside. And this way, it's not a part of the outside room in case it's sanctified with the inner room. It's not a part in case it's sanctified in the outer room, and so that was protected. That's only on the of Hashem. Shishim Amma Arka, roughly 20 Amma wide. Shloshim Amma Kamase 30 Amma tall, high. Uksiv, and it says Va'arboim Ba'Amma Hayabayis. And it says that the Beis HaMikdash itself, meaning the main chamber, was 40 Amma long. This is the Heichal, the main room, which is in front of Hashem, not the chamber that is the Kodesh HaKadoshim where the Aron is, but the chamber in front of that. So that's 40 Amma. Uksiv, and then the next, not the immediate next verse, 3 verses later, it says, "V'lifnei hadavir esrim amma oirech ve'esrim amma reicha ve'esrim amma kamasi." And in front of the davir, which Rashi tells us davir is going to be that the wall, the door, the barrier between the two rooms. So in front of the davir, meaning in the inside chamber, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, it's 20 by 20 by 20. 20 Amma deep, 20 Amma wide, and 20 Amma tall. And the reason is because now you don't know, is the 1 Amma wall, is that a part of the 20 Amma? Or is that Amma wall a part of the 40 Amma? And we said it was 60 total. We assume 60 total, meaning from the one wall to the far wall. And then it says there's 20 in one chamber and 40 in the other chamber, which means that the wall is a part of that somewhere, right? Because otherwise it would be 61. So if it says it's 60, and then it says there's 20 in one and 40 in the other, the wall is a part of one of those, and we don't know which one. Great. Or it's half the wall in there and half the wall out. But the idea is it's a part of the count. Where is it? How do you what sanctity does it have? No. Amatraxin, this wall, Ama, Mahani Esrib is a part of the 20 of the inner chamber of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Mahani Arbaim, or is it of the outer chamber of the Beis HaMikdash, the Kodesh? Maybe it's of neither. And actually, the numbers that they're counting are only of the inside. And so it's not talking about the footprint, it's talking about livable space. It's talking about square footage of livable space. So it measures from wall to wall. It doesn't measure from the outer wall to the outer wall, or from the inner one far end to the other far end.
These measurements are deemed to be accurate, but they're counted.
Sorry?
These measurements are deemed to be accurate, but they're counted.
Right.
Dr. Lyon.
But the idea is that it's giving you the inner, it's giving you the cavity space, not the footprint space. So it says, so therefore maybe it's not a part of the 20, nor is it a part of the 40, but it's just counting the open space. But the walls are not being counted. So it didn't count the outer walls. So maybe it's also not counting the inner wall as well. And I can prove it to you. Because wherever it does mention the walls, it mentions them as a separate measurement. So it seems to be that is the case, that it's meant when it said there's 60 amma, it means 60 amma of open space. And when it said there's 20 in one chamber and 40 in the other, it's actually talking about the open space and it's not counting the wall. And the proof is because whenever it did mention the walls, it told you how thick they were besides for the measure. The Tanan as we learned. Aheichol mea amma baroim al mea amma mea al mea baroim mea. The Beis HaMikdash itself had an antechamber, the room, which was 100 amma by 100 amma by 100 amma high. Kaisel ulam chamish. The thickness of the ulam, the antechamber wall, was 5 amma thickness. Va'ulam achas esrei, and the ulam itself was 11 amma. Kaisel ha'echal, the next wall, 6 amma thick. Va'arkai arboim amma, and then there was 40 amma of chamber. Va'ama traxin, and 1 amma of a barrier wall between the Kodesh and Kodeshim. It says over there that clearly it's a separate amma count. V'chaf amma beis Kodesh Kodeshim, and then there were 20 amma. So it says the outer walls, 5, a chamber of 11, 6 thick wall, a chamber of 40, 1 amma thick wall, chamber of 20. Then it had behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Holy of Holies. Kaisel HaHeichal Sheish, again, a wall that's 6 amma thick. V'hata Sheish, and then there was a 6 amma chamber in there. These were small chambers that they would keep things in, and they would use for fixing the Beis HaMikdash and so on. The Kaisalata Chamesh, and the outer wall was 5. So that's the total. So you see that the walls are counted separately. And so when it said 40 and 20, it was talking about 40 and 20 besides for the wall. So what's your question of whether the wall? You explained the reason why we didn't know whether the wall of the Abatraxin was sanctified with the Kodesh or the Kodesh Kedoshim as a count of, because I don't know, it's a part of the 20 or part of the 40. Maybe it's a part of neither. It's its own thing. He said, still, I have the same question. You're right. I don't know. It's not because I don't know which part of the count it was in, because it had its own count. But was it sanctified as a part of the Holy of Holies, or sanctified a part of the outside, or as you suggested, maybe 50-50? But what about the sanctification of that wall? Is it a part of the Holy of Holies, or is it part of the Beis Hamikdash Kodesh? And that's the question. Behind it, Rabbi Yochanan, and this is what Rabbi Yochanan said. By Yosef Ish Hutzal. Yosef Ish Hutzal asked a question about the pasuk right before the 20 Kodesh Kodashim that mentioned, says Udvir b'tech habayit, and there was a dvir inside the Beis Hamikdash, which Rashi told us is the barrier wall between the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kodashim, in front of the Holy of Holies. Mipenima hechin, from the inner he prepared it, l'sitein shamas aram b'es Hashem, to put inside there the ark of the holy of the covenant of Hashem. And so Ibailu, so Yosef Ish Hutzal asked the question: how do you read this verse? Where do you put the comma? How is the verse being is saying this? Udvir b'tech habayis mipenima is the there is a wall separating them. Mipenima heichen l'sita l'sham. It is a part of the inside. Of the inside, he gave it to put the ark of Hashem, the Aron Hashem there. Meaning there is a wall of the inside. Right. So it's part sanctified of the inside of the Kodesh HaKodashim. Or we put the comma before the inside. There is a wall of the inside was given to put the ark there. So that mipnima, that word of the inside, can be referring to the three words beforehand, which is the wall is there between the Kodesh Kodashim of the inside. So it's sanctified as a part of the Kodesh Kodashim, and it's really the sanctity of the Kodesh Kodashim is 21 amma, 20 area and 20 open area and one wall. Or you put the comma beforehand. Udvir b'tech habayis, and inside the wall, the Beis Hamikdash, there's a wall. Comma mipenima heichen l'sita sham, and of the inside he prepared to put there the Kodesh and the ark, the Aron, and so therefore the inside, the wall itself is part of the Beis Hamikdash and not a part of the Kodesh Kodashim. Or perhaps this is what he's saying. The wall itself is a part of the inner sanctum. Says, really? Did he have a doubt about how to read that pasuk? That's not correct. He didn't have a doubt about that pasuk because we learned that Isi ben Yehuda questioned only 5 psukim of how to separate the word of the pasuk. So essentially, there's no punctuation, there's no commas in the Torah. So the question is, sometimes you have a word in a pasuk and it's not clear whether it is connected to the first words in the pasuk or the later words in the pasuk, like over here. And Isi ben Yehuda tells us that there are 5 places that we have this doubt. And if it's true that Yosef Ish Hutzal asked this question, so then we would have 6. Well, maybe Yosef Ish Hutzal has a question, but not Isi ben Yehuda. Well, actually, if they are one and the same. Isi ben Yehuda is Yosef Ish Hutzal. He's Yosef, the man of Hutzal, known as, instead of Yosef by his nickname, Isi ben Yehuda. So he's one and the same, as the Gemara is going to tell us. So Vatani, we learned Isi ben Yehuda. Isi ben Yehuda had a question, and he says, "Chamesh mikrois b'Torah ein lemachreya." There are 5 pesukim in the Torah that it's unclear about a word whether or not it's referring to the previous word or part of the previous or afterwards. The first one is se'es. When Cain and Hevel are in the world, and Cain is upset about Hevel, and so Hashem says to him, "Why are you upset?" So Hashem says to him, if not, you could do good, se'es, and that would mean you would be atoned for, you would be forgiven. If you do good, you'd be forgiven, and then se'es is a part of the first part. Or it reads like this: is it not that you can do good? Se'es chatas roivis, and if you and you will have to carry your sin if you allow the sin in. So the word se'es, carry, can be referring to the first part, that Hashem will forgive you, carry your sin, meaning for atone, or it could be going on the end that if you don't do good, you will have to carry your sin. So that word se'es, it's unclear where it's going. Next is by the menorah. The menorah says va'arba gavim meshukadim kaftarei Rachel. Four cups, as in the adornment of the menorah. It had 4 cups, meshukadim, almondized, meaning it had made like an almond. Kaftarei Rachel, its buttons and its flowers. Now, is that meshukadim, the almond like? Is that about the cups or about the buttons? Machar. It says in the pasuk, go out and fight with Amalek tomorrow. And I will stand at the head of the mountain, and the staff of my hand is in my hand, and you will beat them. Now that machar, is that going on, go fight Amalek tomorrow? Or go fight Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the mountain. Arur, the curse. It says in the pasuk that Yaakov is speaking about Shimon and Levi and their anger. It says, with their anger, they uprooted a man or a bull, which is Yosef. Arur apam ki az. Cursed is their anger because it's too strong. Or no, Arur is going in the previous verse, and then it's going with their anger. They uprooted a bull that is cursed, and that's talking about Shechem, not Yosef. And then the last pasuk, it says in the Moshe says to Bnei Yisrael, Hashem says to Moshe about Bnei Yisrael that Moshe, you're about to die, and you're going to lie with your ancestors. And this people will get up, meaning Bnei Yisrael, and they will stray after foreign gods. That's one way of reading it. Or you are going to lie down with your ancestors and become and get up, comma, meaning there's the resurrection, the Tchias HaMesim, and the nation is going to stray. So the word become and they will get up, is that referring on Moshe? You're about to die, lay with your ancestors and get up, comma, or you're about to die, comma, and the nation will get up and serve God. So that word, that could be going its own phrase, and become is going. So these are the 5 places where in the pasuk, in the Torah, we don't know whether the word goes before or after. That's what Yosef ben Yehuda said. Now for Tanya, we also have a separate brisa that teaches who Yosef ish Hutzal. The same person is Yosef ish Hutzal, who Yosef HaBavli, Yosef the Babylonian, who Isi ben Yehuda, who Isi ben Gur Aryeh, who Isi ben Gamliel, who Isi ben Mahalalel, Umashamai, what is actually his name? Isi ben Akiva Shemai. His name is Isi ben Akiva. In any case, he's known as many different names, but he's known as Isi ben Akiva. For whatever reason, he has all these names, but that's what it is. And so it's one and the same. And if you tell me he's not sure about how to interpret the word panima, about the wall of the Amatraxel, whether it's in the inside or the outside, it can't be, because he just said that there are 5 psukim that we don't know, not 6. He says, no, 5 in the Torah. But the Araisa Leka. There's 5 in the Torah, but in the Nevi'im, in the prophets, it could be more. The Nevi'im. Now the Gemara says, wait, but what about it even in the Torah? But the Araisa Leka. In the Torah, there's no more. What about the question of Rav Chisda? It says, "Vayishluchu es nar b'nei Yisrael vayalo oilos kavasim v'yizbachu zavachim shalomim horim." It says that the youth of Bnei Yisrael, they brought up at Har Sinai after Matan Torah, they brought up oilos kavasim. They brought ascent offerings of lambs. Vayizbachu zavachim shalomim, and they shechted shlomim offerings, horim, bulls. Now that word parim is going on the beginning. Vayalo oilus kavasim and also parim, bull, lambs and bulls, or is the word bulls going only on the shlamim? Or were they both bulls? So Rav Chisda, the Sapkele, Isi ben Yehuda, he said, yeah, Rav Chisda has another one, but Isi ben Yehuda himself, he only had 5. And in Tanakh, in Nevi'im, he had another one as well or more. Okay, so that's the question about the wording of the Amatraxel, and that's why there were 2 curtains according to Rabbi Yehuda, and indeed that he would go in from the southern side, walk up along the northern side. So he says, the outer curtain, the Mishnah says, it had its opening. Prufa is that it was pulled back a little bit and had a hook to hold it in place. As an open curtain on the southern side, and the inner curtain had an opening at the northern side. So he would enter at the south and walk northward until he gets to the open between the 2 curtains towards the north. Once he gets to the north, now there's the opening to the chamber itself, to the Kodesh Kodashim. He would turn left. And he would do a full U-turn, start facing, say he was walking northward, now he would turn and start facing southward, walking along the wall, right? So this is the opening, he'd come in and walk along the wall to the center of the room, to the place where where the Aron would be. His left side is along the pareches, the curtain, till he arrives to the Aron, which is the ark. Now Gemara is going to ask, what are you talking about the ark? If it's talking about a curtain, we're talking about the second Beis HaMikdash. In the second Beis HaMikdash, the Aron wasn't there. And if you talk about that there was an ark, there wasn't a curtain, it was a wall. That's what we just said. Only in the second Beis HaMikdash, where the Kodesh was 40 amos high, they couldn't make a wall that tall. So therefore they had a curtain. So what are you talking about? He's walking in the curtain and then he gets to the Aron. You're mixing up your yitzers. Once he gets to where the Aron is, he would put the pan with the coals between the 2 badim, between the 2 staffs, the sticks that the beams that would hold that would be in the Kodesh Kodashim. And then he would pour the Torres onto the coals. And the smell of Kula Ocean and the Holy of Holies would become all full of smoke. He would leave the way he came in. And when he would daven a short tefillah in the outer room, but he wouldn't daven too long. Why? Not to scare Bnei Yisrael, because they're afraid if he doesn't come out very soon, they're going to think, all right, he didn't survive this ordeal. So he would say a short tefillah, but come out as quick as he could to make sure that everything's okay. Now the Gemara asks this question and said, are we talking about the first base of Mikdash? Mihava Palaroiches, was it a curtain? It was a wall. El of the Mikdashin. Must be we're talking about the second base of Mikdash. Mihava Ark, was there the ark even? Latani we learned. Mishenignaz Ark, when the ark was hidden, was put away. Nignaz Imoy, together with it were hidden. Sincenas Haman. There was a jug of mun that Moshe Rabbeinu saved, and the Torah says, save this, and it should be there always, so Bnei Israel can see what we ate. So there was a jug of the mun there for all of the generations until the end of the Beis Mikdash, the first Beis Mikdash, when they hid it. So together with the ark was the Tzinsenas Haman. And the jug that had the anointment oil. And the staff of Aaron, which had grown flowers and almonds, that staff was also there, and all left there as a memory for generations. And and the golden treasure box that the Philistines sent when they had stolen the ark, and they put it together with their god, the bee god, and his limbs kept on falling apart, and so they got afraid, and so they sent the ark back to Hashem, to the Beis Hamikdash, with presents on it, with the golden box. So that golden box remained with the ark. As it says, the golden box which they returned with him. Tasimu ba'argaz mitzida, put it in the box on the side of the Aron, and you send it and it will go. Now, Umigans. So who hid all these things? Who hid the ark with all these things? Yoshio, the king Yoshio. Shanema Guns. Now, why? Ma Rasha Guns. Why was it that he hid it? Rasha Kasab. He heard the prophecy and saw the pasuk. It says, Hashem will bring you and the king which will be above you, which will be taken to exile. Now he knew, okay, that means that we're going to be taken to exile, and this is going to be all that's there is going to it's going to be lost. So instead of it being lost and captured by those that take the king in captivity, he Amad Begunzen. So he went and he hid them in advance. Shenema, for it says, Vayomer la Leviim Hamavinu, and he said to the Leviim who were wise, who were smart, intuitive, L'chol Yisrael, and they understood all of what's going on for Bnei Yisrael. And Kadoshim Lashem, that which is holy to Hashem, to Nu Esarein HaKadosh V'Beis Hashem Bana Shlomo Ben David Melech Yisrael. Put the ark in the house which Shlomo, king of Israel, had built for Hashem. Well, what do you mean put that in the? It already is in the body. So what do you mean put it there? Meaning, put it there, put it away. That's what he was telling them. They understood the message, and he was saying put it there because he knew that soon the Beis Mikdash is going to be destroyed. So it has to be placed away in one of the chambers beneath. We know that the kings had built tunnels and hideaways and chambers beneath the Temple Mount. And so he told them, go ahead and put it away. And you have no issue of carrying it on your shoulders. Now go and serve Hashem your God and Bnei Israel. Do this, even though that usually you can only carry it with covering and a specific purpose, because you're traveling. You can't just take it out. This is an avodah you need to do on behalf of Bnei Israel, on behalf of Hashem, our God. V'amar Rabbi Lazar says, even though he only said in the pasuk, it only says about the ark, but the Tzinsenas Haman is connected to the ark because it says you will put it shama there. just like it says by the ark. So we know that along with it goes the Tzinsenes Aman. And it says Duris. And by the Tzinsenes Aman, by the jug of the mun, it says as a guarding for your generations. And by the Shemin Mishra, the anointment oil, it says it's a guarding for the generations. And the staff of Aaron is learned from the jug because it says Mishmeres, it's a guarding for the generations. And the staff of Aaron, it says it's a guarding. So he learned Shama V'asi Duris V'asi Mishmeres, to tell you that all these went away with it. So back to our question. So if there's no Aron there, what does it say in our Mishnah? He would walk along the curtain and get to the Aron. There is no Aron. You're right, we're talking about the second piece. What does it mean that he got to the Aron? Makim Aron, to the place, the foundation rock, which is there, the Evan Shasil, which was the place where the Aron was placed, would have been. Well, it says, and he would put the pam between the two staffs, between the two badim. There were no badim. Right, that too. Ema kebein shnei badim. What it means is to this space that would be where the badim would have been.